I tuned in your podcast the other day on Tuesday, and I saw you were talking about it then too. So
Yeah, for sure. What's going on, everybody? We are back with episode number 2 of Sideline Specialists. We're going to have a whole intro, probably video music thing at some point. But for now, we're just going to come to you as a regular intro running down some of the topics we're listening to today. So we're talking about Jontay Porter and Shohei Ohtani, right? That's how you say it?
Shohei,
yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. Their investigations into their sports betting. We're talking about the NFL Kickoffs changing. We're talking Sneed getting traded, some NFL power rankings, the MLB Opening Day. We have a lot of things set up. So, without further ado, let's just jump into the sports betting, really. We'll get to MLB Opening Day after that. But
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, this is just insanity with the level of things coming up. Like Ohtani is obviously a much higher level.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that's why I find it's like the irony of the timing, right? Is you have this dude who is, in my opinion, as far as NBA players go, he's a no-name. Like you look at his ad, like even the betting props that they were showing that were getting chosen. It's like the dude, his over/under is 4.5 points. So that's where I'm like, you cannot be the guy who is doing this on your own shit, because it's just gonna get flagged instantaneously.
Exactly.
Yeah. So like when I saw that and I just read through that one ESPN article, I'm like, oh, he's done. Like he's just done. He's toasted. Because if he was LeBron, like say he had the stat lines of LeBron and then his props are on that level,
yeah,
it will go undetected so much more easily.
Right.
But it's the fact that it was like on these 2 games where he leaves with mysterious injuries after being on the floor for like 4 minutes. Like, you probably could have gotten away with it once, but not twice. And then, on top of that, the amount of money that was bet in that, I think there was the one bet was like $500,000. It's like, they're gonna see that immediately, dude.
Exactly.
No one's betting $500,000 on Jontay Porter unless they've lost their fucking mind.
Right.
Like, or they know exactly what they're gonna get because it's fixed. So
right. It's like nobody. Also, on top of that, not even having to be on the level of LeBron, but if he at least was like an everyday starter, getting like anywhere from like 20 to 30 minutes a game, and those 2 games he just goes out, then it's like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
But as somebody who's on a 2-way deal, not playing often,
exactly,
and only playing in that moment because the Raptors are just injured like crazy, to then go out and be like, oh, eyeball irritation, or oh, I'm sick.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, that one was so strange, just reading that. It's like no one has ever left a game for that reason, unless you got elbowed in the eye. Like, but they'll call it a facial contusion. Like, they'll use words that make you actually believe something.
Right.
And so it's like man. Like, pick your spots, and you swung and you missed bad. And we'll use that analogy to go right into Ohtani.
Exactly.
Because I don't yet know what to think.
That's
because
where I'm at.
Because, like, this is going to sound stupid. Asian people don't gamble. That's just not their thing. Like, they don't have casinos over there. That is an American thing. And I know he's here now, but these bets were like placed through a bookie in his hometown, which is why it looks shady. But if it's somebody like his interpreter that was actually doing this shit, then it kind of adds up. But
right.
it's so strange. And it's the amount of money too. It's like, how did he have access to that?
Yeah.
He's
All
your
that money?
he's your interpreter, and maybe you were paying him that well, and he might have been, but like Jesus Christ, it's so odd, and it's such a shame for Shohei because this is he literally first game today on a team that can actually win,
Yeah.
And they did win today. Good for him. He got his first hit. I am going to hold out hope that he has no part in this and he's not guilty of anything other than being someone stolen from.
Right.
Because he's such a role model for so many people that this is the kind of thing. It's like, I don't want to see this happen because it will be devastating for baseball as a whole and then the sports world, all the fans, everything. I just don't. I hope it gets solved. Whoever is guilty of whatever gets handled. But
yeah, because him getting caught in this is like if LeBron or one of those names in the NBA got caught for it instead of Jontay Porter. So it's like the magnitude of it. If whatever they find through, if it is something that he was doing, would just be insane, especially because you already have one guy that's been barred from the Hall of Fame for betting on games. So
which we can shout out Pete Rose. You should be in the Hall of Fame. There you go.
I agree. He still should be in the Hall of Fame. But it's like, I was saying this on the Atlantic Files earlier this week, but you have to make an example of some of the people that get caught in today's age because sports betting and everything is so much more advertised. It's right in front of people's faces, literally 24/7 now.
It's everywhere.
Exactly. It was never at this level. I mean, it was illegal for the longest time. And then finally it was legalized. Now it's online. Now it's as easy as just downloading an app and throwing money on it and going for it. And the NBA now on League Pass, right when you tune into a game, it gives you the FanDuel odds of the game.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's so crazy, right? Back in the day, I feel like it would have been way more difficult to get caught.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was person to person. It was peer-to-peer betting. You had to actually go physically to a bookie or whatever and exchange money. It was now with the digital stuff, the way they can track things, it's they'll just check your bank records. Right. They'll check whatever and find the money that went out and then what came in and where it went. It's just, you know what I mean? But what you just said, I was going to say, it's what do we have? We have BetMGM. We had Fox Bet, but I think they're dead. ESPN has their own now. Of course they do. DraftKings, FanDuel, Bovada. It's insane now. And what bothers me, and I can just personal experience with this, I had a betting addiction for 2 years, and it was not, you know what I mean? It's one of those things you can get in because you get anything that can give you an adrenaline or endorphin rush is probably a bad thing for people. And now it's just everywhere. And you can make much more educated bets now, and you can do a better job at not just losing money as long as you're not an idiot.
Yeah.
But this shouldn't be this big. And I think we're you see in the NFL, guys have missed entire seasons now due to betting. Calvin Ridley probably being the highest profile. The fact that it's that punishable by the leagues, but they are then willing to advertise and promote these sites and use their data on screen while you're watching a game just seems super hypocritical to me. If you're not betting on your own games, or even your own sport, I don't think it matters. I really don't. But
I agree. Yeah, if you're Ohtani and you're betting on basketball, I don't.
No issues. No issues.
Yeah, it only comes. The biggest thing is betting on your own games by far.
Yeah.
And then once you start betting on your own sport, that also just gets murky, because then like a lot of people, like especially in basketball, they are friends with each other.
Yeah.
So they
Well, that's what I was
know,
gonna say.
yeah, they know what's going on. They know
Yeah.
oh, LeBron told me yesterday, like he's probably not going to play. But like that kind of thing didn't come out on the injury reports or by Woj or anybody else.
Yeah.
But I'm friends with LeBron, so like
yeah. But let's pretend it was like D Wade. It's like we know they talk.
exactly.
But it's like, but there's friendships like that all across the league. Guys who are former teammates, college teammates. Like, I agree 100%. But that's why it gets sketchy when it's the same sport.
Exactly.
Because like in football, it's a lot harder because the teams are 53 versus 53. So if you're like a linebacker, unless you actually get an opportunity in the game to like whiff on a tackle on purpose, which you probably won't really. Like it's not going to be as crazy, but the number one thing you can't see is a guy betting on his own team or the team you're facing that week. Like if that happens, it doesn't matter why you did it. That can't be allowed.
Or if you're fucking Jontay Porter and bet on yourself.
Yeah, like Jesus Christ, man.
Like of all things.
What are we doing? Like he bet his entire 10-day contract.
Yeah. And honestly, if he bet the over on himself, I wouldn't have as much of an issue.
Yep. But he bet the under, and I'm like, that's just soft, my guy.
Exactly. And then made up a BS injury.
Like, yeah, everything about it is just so soft. And it's just, I just laugh because I'm like, the NBA has a level of softness and anyway right now, which is unfortunate. But that is just like a new low.
Yeah, seriously. It's all bad. And
it's all bad.
Yeah. And the thing is, like you were saying too, like before in the older days, you would have to go to a bookie, do person to person. So the fact that Ohtani's translator like went to a bookie in this day and age is even shadier.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, because it's like, can't you see all the easy ways to bet now?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's like you did that in Japan. Like, right. Okay, I get maybe they don't have what we have app whatever wise. They probably don't have access to it in the same way. They may have their own. Who knows? Right. But like, what were you gambling on? Like, that's what I want to know. Mm-hmm. That's what, because everything just says gambling debts. So I'm like, from what? What were they placed on? Because that's probably what they're looking for.
Oh, yeah.
Because if it's placed on shit that makes Ohtani look innocent, you're like, yay. If it was placed on Major League Baseball shit, then you're like, oh, no. Because that's where Ohtani's going to end up looking real guilty real quick. But, exactly. Like, I can't see Ohtani being involved in this too, though, because the contract he just got is like it's the biggest thing in sports history. He doesn't need it. So, and he's not an idiot. He doesn't spend his money at all. Like, I
was about to say, he's not out there like buying the most ridiculous things or anything.
No.
So, but I just think it's funny that like they're saying like gambling debts, which means like he's just been losing all these bets.
Yeah, this dude's $4.5 million in the red. Like, my guy, you just stop. Like, you suck. You're bad at this. Like, call it a day.
Like,
please.
If you were fixing these, you're terrible at fixing.
I know. Oh my god, dude, he'd be the worst in history. Like, if there's a Hall of Fame for like gambling losers, he's like the GOAT. Like,
exactly.
Like, call it a fucking day, man. Oh, Jesus.
But speaking of baseball, opening day.
Hey.
Finally here.
The greatest.
We've had a couple of them postponed, unfortunately. Like our Phillies, they'll be playing a doubleheader tomorrow. So gotta wait for them. There was one other game postponed. Brewers.
Yep. I can rattle some scores off too. So tomorrow, I actually don't think is a doubleheader. Actually,
Did they not have a game already?
I don't think so. I think both us and the Mets got lucky in that it was like our opening day game was today and Friday was an off day. Or they just shuffled they just shuffled. But because I'm looking, and we play both the Phillies and Mets games are in the afternoon.
I did see that, yeah.
Which would make you think, right? Like, oh, there could be a night game.
Right.
I don't see one. And I'm checking the rest of like the weekend, and I think.
Yeah, I see Nola starts Saturday, so it must.
Yeah, we play Sunday, Saturday, Friday. So I think that's the whole series potentially.
I see.
And then we move to and then Cincinnati for the second series starts Monday. So yeah, some early scores. Nothing too surprising today, to be honest. Detroit beating the White Sox 1-0. Totally expect that. I don't know if I ever told you this. AJ Pierzynski, if you're familiar with that name, ever. He is a cousin of mine. It's not like a close one, but we're in the same family tree on my granddad's side.
Okay.
And I actually got to attend the 2005 World Series with my gramps and meet the entire World Series champion White Sox squad.
Damn.
Yeah. So I was 11. So I've always followed the White Sox because he was with them for so long, too. It was like, I think he finally left them in like 2013.
Right.
And then went to the Braves, which I was like, I hate that you're on the Braves, but it's cool because you play the Phillies a bunch, so I can come say hi a lot. So, them losing today, not shocking. They're the worst team in baseball. I'll make that prediction now. Like, they will get the number 1 pick.
Okay.
In the draft. They are horrendous.
It's been a little while since they've been good, hasn't it?
Yeah. Like, they made the playoffs 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I think they got through round 1, but then they ran into Houston, and it was, how many years in a row now, whoever runs into Houston, you're not beating Houston because they're going to make the World Series whether you like it or not. And this year we finally had that not happen with Texas. So, yeah, but we got Washington getting absolutely demolished by the Reds today, 8-2. I watched that for a bit. I had blow-up inning. Baltimore crushed the Angels.
Yeah.
11-3.
I was glad that I got Corbin Burns on my fantasy team.
Hell yeah! Oh, speaking of, I need to draft a damn team. Totally forgot to do that.
I would join another. I joined just like a random free league because it's the first time I did fantasy baseball in a while.
Yeah.
So I would join another one if you find.
I was gonna say, let me see if I can find a way to like invite you to the one I'm in. Like, let's do an ESPN one because it's the easiest.
Yeah.
And I'll figure that out. Yeah. Later, you just send me your like ESPN username or whatever on Insta.
Yep. Yeah, I got it.
I need to find my old one. My old one used to be Obama for Yo Mama, which is just like the best thing to have in a fantasy league.
Oh, definitely.
We got Twins over the Royals. Twins are much, much, much better than the Royals. I think the Twins are my odds-on favorite in my mind to win that division. If they don't, Detroit is the potential upstart. A lot of older players are gone, and a lot of younger talent is coming up. That they've had enough high draft picks now, and they're actually panning out. Pittsburgh beats the Marlins in extras. Good comeback too. I think it was actually 5-2 Miami at one point. And the Yankees beating the Astros in Houston when also trailing for most of the game. And then the only non-surprising ones today, Toronto winning over Tampa. Tampa cleaned house. And obviously the Dodgers were... if you don't sit here even right now and go, the Dodgers are going to win the World Series, I don't know. I can't see a realm I mean, but they have a lot of guys who are injury prone, so we'll see.
True.
But yeah, there's your.
I got
And then
I got kind of screwed today for fantasy wise because I have Austin Riley, Michael Harris II, and Christian Yelich.
Yep, and all those games are.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So my hitters right now are not great. Combined, they're 4 for 21 so far. So not the best. But at least my pitching is helping me in this matchup so far. I'm winning most of the pitching categories, but yeah,
excellent.
The hitting categories are quite bad.
I forgot about this. I drafted an NBA ESPN fantasy team, and I haven't touched it because I had so many injuries happen that I was like, I can't keep up with this shit. But I forgot what I named it. It's Troel and Indeed.
Oh my god.
Oh my dude, I have Maxi. I always have to have a Sixer if I'm gonna name it based on a Sixer thing. If I don't do like a Sixers kind of pun, but like, yeah, so many injuries. I'm looking at it now. I haven't looked at it probably since like November. But I have like 4 dudes just out completely. It's like solid.
Fantasy football and basketball this year completely like emotionally drained me because I was in a lot of leagues where like I was either just barely missed the playoffs or I made it all the way to the championship and lost.
Yeah.
It was like one or the other. And it was just incredibly frustrating.
I feel that. I totally feel that. I want to see.
My new thing though is I love dynasty leagues. Dynasty leagues are so fun.
Goated.
Like I'm in 2 dynasty basketball leagues and 2 dynasty football leagues. And they are, I mean, granted, the one basketball league is definitely just completely insane. It's a 30-team salary cap dynasty league. So there's that league is way more in depth than any other league I've ever been in. And it's with a lot of like fantasy sports writers and stuff. So these people are all like hardcore. So yeah, still a ways to go in that league, but
makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I want to see if ESPN has a way for me to like invite you to a league and then open it to other people.
It should. I feel like that's a normal thing.
Like,
I'm thinking to make it public or whatever.
well, that's what I mean. I'm like, if I can, I don't even know if I can do that. I think, you know what we might have to do? And this is like corny, but I'm down with it. If this doesn't work, like that invite's there. Obviously, if I could figure out a way, I'll schedule a draft and whatever. Yeah, but
I just joined it.
Were you in? All right, when you did an ESPN one.
Yep.
Was it like head-to-head points? Was the category for?
The one I did was head-to-head categories.
Okay, because it
was the first like one that was going to draft that day, so I literally was just like, I don't care.
Got it. Okay, because was it head-to-head each category? That's what it was.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, because I'll literally do is just draft a team. And you did it snake draft, not salary cap, right?
Yep.
All right, I'll draft a team the same way you did. That way, if we can't figure out a way to like join one and then have other people in it, we can at least like still compare how we did each week. Because I think that's fun. Damn, nobody's joining this shit. Yeah, I did one of those like join a public league and it just like draft now. I'm the only one. Which shocks the shit out of me, but I'll leave this in the background and hopefully more people join it as we're on the broadcast. That'd be fun. Yeah. Oh yeah, people are joining. Here we go.
So usually people start to, once they see like one or two, they're like, all right.
All right. Do we want to jump into? Let's do March Madness first because it's live. If that's all right.
Yeah.
Because I actually have one game on my phone and the other game on my iPad right in front of me here. So, um, so far, potential juicy upset. Potential. Clemson is up 8 at halftime over Arizona, and they have maintained that lead literally since like 10 minutes to go in the first half. So it's not like they were behind and barely did it at half. They've had this lead and they're holding it. So we'll see.
Okay.
That would be massive. A 6 to make it to the Elite 8 over a 2 would be a big deal.
Men's brackets have been terrible this year.
I made one bracket, and it was like okay. It wasn't horrific, and it wasn't off. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't like amazing.
Right.
It's right. It's like let me pull this up because I want to see exactly what we're looking at here.
I made 3.
Okay.
And they're all terrible.
I'm currently I have 74% on my picks.
Oh, I'm 36%.
Yeah. So like I have
That's my highest.
my let's see, my one bracket I had hold on. Oh, okay, so this tells me my pick. So in the East little thing, I missed on Auburn because Yale just they played an amazing game. Super happy for them.
Auburn too.
I actually picked Duquesne.
Same.
And because I had faith in the little school from Pittsburgh. I'm like, you guys can do it. I believe in you.
Duquesne, I like Duquesne's campus a lot.
Beautiful.
Obviously, being at Pitt, I walked by and have been by there a lot. So that their campus has been great.
But like I had some of the upsets. I took Colorado over. Like I was like, I'm just gonna wing it. That SEC is gonna like, because that I don't know why that SEC commission was like, small school shouldn't be here. I'm like, I'm gonna take every school against the SEC now. Fuck that guy. But let's see. I mean, I missed in the South and the East. I missed one pick in the Sweet 16 on each one. My worst one was the West, because that one was actually like just craziness. I think I misclicked on this one. I meant to take Clemson, and I picked New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why the fuck my brain would willingly do that, but here we are. And then obviously Baylor was favored already over Clemson, and they didn't do it. And then now here Clemson is in the freaking Sweet 16 about to like do it again. But yeah, I still have. I have a handful of teams alive that I had actually picked, but I have UConn. I have UConn repeating.
Okay.
I do.
So so one of my brackets I literally just did I always do one bracket that like I do some way by random, and there's this like website that I found that I do for our draft orders for our fantasy leagues, where it's like a randomized rubber duck race. So I did like a duck race for every matchup, and I knew that bracket was going to be terrible because the champion was Grand Canyon. So obviously that's not
excellent. Excellent.
And then the two that I actually like, one that I took my time to pick through, I had Kentucky winning it all, and obviously everyone knows how that went. So obviously also not great. So my last one standing, I have UNC winning it all.
Okay.
All 4 of my final 4 is still alive.
Okay. I think. Hold on. Can I confirm?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all 4. Or hold on. I think 3 of mine are still alive. One of the reasons my percent is not super high is I actually had Baylor making it to the Final Four to play UConn.
Okay.
But Clemson is just playing out of their ever-loving minds right now, and they're, you know what I mean? Like, they're just shocking everybody, so
Right.
That's why we love the tournament.
Exactly. I still have a good bit of like my Sweet 16 alive too. Except in the South, I had Marquette over Kentucky. So Marquette's still there, obviously. NC State is the matchup for them. But the one I had I had Wisconsin versus Texas A&M.
Okay. I mean, you were close to half of that being right.
Yeah.
Like my bracket, I have only one seed actually makes the Final Four.
I think I'm right there with you. Yeah.
I have Tennessee beating Purdue. 100%. 100%. But here's where my bracket went wrong because I didn't do like research. Kansas apparently had like 2 other star players were hurt going into this tournament, and I just didn't know that.
I got you.
So that absolutely ruined me over here because I obviously took Kansas over Gonzaga, but with the Gonzaga trounced them because they just didn't have guys. But I had Tennessee making it out of that anyway.
Oh, okay.
So in the end, it didn't affect that part of it. But then obviously the UNC side is where I'm like it like kind of ruined because I had Baylor just being the team that surprised people because I always try and just pick who's going to show up, and it's Clemson. And then I have Marquette over Duke because I think Houston is hot ass for a 1 seed. Like they're the weakest 1 seed for me. By
Houston is always up there too.
Yeah, but I look at them and I'm like, who do you play every year in your conference? You're going to have so many games that give you a boost, and I'm like, their program is reliable in that they always do well, but then you make it to this, you're going to run into somebody, and they have 2 somebodies to get through right now. They have Duke first, and if they can do that, they got Marquette, and I think Marquette is the best of the 2 seeds. So,
even if Marquette isn't the one to get through, NC State has been ridiculously fucking good over the last month.
Well, but that's why I'm looking at that game. I'm like that game could potentially be nuts. Like Marquette, NC State has so much potential.
And I hate NC State because the fact that they won the ACC tournament is the only reason Pitt's not in. Even though Pitt should have gotten in anyway, I'm gonna.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna beat a dead horse anymore, but they pissed me off because of that. And Duke, because Pitt beat Duke at Duke. So like that shit is annoying.
Yeah, and Duke. So, but like, think about that logic. Duke is a 4 seed.
Right.
You can't find somewhere for Pitt.
Right.
Are you serious? Like
for like Michigan State.
Anybody. Like, it's annoying. Like, I understand that the conference championships play into it. I don't necessarily think that they always should.
Right.
Like, for the small schools, absolutely.
Yes.
For them, that's their way in. So leave it for them. But like the mega conferences that are just going to have 5 or 6 teams in this shit anyway, just pick the best ones.
And my favorite thing is going into the tournament, everyone was like, oh, the ACC is weak this year. It's a down year. All 4 of the ACC teams that got in are in the Sweet 16.
Yep.
Clemson's looking like they're about to upset Arizona.
Yep, they're still up 8.
Exactly. And NC State is the 11 seed, is in the Sweet 16. UNC is a number 1 seed, and Duke is a 4. So, like, how is that a weak conference?
I know. I mean, it just, I guess the way, the number one reason they're going to call it weak, right, is Duke's coaching change.
Yeah.
UNC's was also, like, recent enough that you're like, okay, are they going to have the same recruiting power? Because with Villanova, you see Jay Wright left, and where did they end up? That's what I mean. Like, it's the coach. The coach matters because you're not going to want to go and play for just like somebody. Right. You want to play for the guy, and like I get it, but I look at I'll look like the UNC side. I'll go, okay, I would expect now if Clemson wins today, I think Clemson has a decent shot to actually make the Final Four.
Yeah, for sure.
But obviously, like if Arizona goes through, I'll say it's North Carolina.
Yeah, so I actually have 2 1 seeds in my Final Four. I overlooked that, but because I have, so my Final Four is UNC, Illinois, and Purdue versus Marquette.
Okay.
That's my Final Four for this year. And then I have UNC versus Purdue in the final.
I have
with UNC winning it all.
I have UConn beating Marquette.
Okay. So yeah, the thing for me too is over the last, I'd say this season, last season, maybe the season before that, college has been a little watered down because of the different avenues to get into the NBA, the G League Ignite, the people that have gone overseas for 1 year and then have come back, overtime elite now with like the Thompson twins going through that and then getting into the NBA. There's a lot of different avenues. So not everyone's going to college. Obviously, there's still the one and done thing as well. So to me, it's just kind of like, and this is something you and I talked about, I think last week, or maybe it was when you came onto the Atlantic Files. I could name way more women's players this year than men's players. And to me, it's just like, it's crazy because in the men's game, the like top 5 projected picks are like international and G League Ignite guys now. And they already said they're getting rid of G League Ignite after this year. So I don't know if they're just going to say like G League guys can just go on to any of the G League teams or if they're just doing away with it entirely. That's still to be determined. But the fact that like G League Ignite has brought us Kuminga, Jalen Green, Scoot Henderson, like these guys have all been very high level guys that probably would have like sold a lot of tickets in college.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh yeah, and
they would put asses in seats.
Exactly. And the I think the saving grace for college is the fact that they finally allowed the NIL stuff, because if they didn't, there's no way in hell that these bigger name people would be still going to college at all.
Agreed.
Yeah. And the other thing too is, whereas a lot of people like kind of looked down on like the 4-year college player, I think these days the 4-year college player is held in a little bit higher regard, because now you have certain guys in the league that were like either 3 or 4-year players that have proven to be very, very good too. So it's like, you know, like the Bridges and the Brunsons and
but even with those 2 that you just chose, they're looking at who coached you for 4 years.
Exactly.
Like what, like you're going to learn so much about the game being on a program like that, more so than just jumping into the G League. It's like maybe there's good coaching, but it's not going to be the same. And then the atmosphere that you get to play in the tournament is going to you're going to learn how to play under pressure a lot more. And like in the NBA, it's like that's what it is, because it's a business at that point. So like you either play well or you're just done. So
exactly. And I think
that's missing.
This is kind of like a sidebar, but I think what they did wrong with the G League Ignite and everything is the fact that they just said, all right, we're going to throw all these guys on this team and we're going to give you like 2 or 3 veterans. It was like Amir Johnson and like random ass older veterans that that can't make it in the NBA anymore. And we're going to like throw a coach on there and kind of like, this is your foray into like the NBA world. But that's not how it like is going to work, especially because say you get a rookie that's in the NBA, you get the rookie and then it's all other veterans. Or if it's not veterans, it's guys that have been there like 2-3 years. So they start to get to know it. The coaches are the top of the cream of the crop coaches. And so it's a completely different realm. And so I think if they were just to integrate each of these G League guys into the other G League teams with guys that are also battling for NBA spots, that would the learning curve would be tremendously different.
100%. And I think the players coming out of it would feel a lot more comfortable.
Yes.
Because, like, Scoot, you look at Scoot, he's a perfect example of, like, the expedited process kind of not paying off immediately.
Right.
Like, I think he can absolutely be a good player in the NBA, but it feels like he just jumped right into deep waters and he was not ready to swim. And especially on a team like Portland that, like, they got Jeremy Grant. You have DeAndre Ayton, who's basically, we're accepting now, he's not what he was supposed to be. Which he never put weight on. And I'm sorry, like, all he needed to do was 2 off seasons in a row, put muscle on, get strong. That's all he needed to do, was show he could put in the work there and build that routine, because it would just translate. Yep. And he just hadn't done it. And then, like, Scoot jumps into there, and immediately they're like, oh, he's going to replace Lillard. Nobody in Portland is going to replace a guy that meant that much to that city. Like, no. And I hope he can find his footing so that he's not going to just get, like, pushed out of the league by, like, just the fans alone. You know what I mean? It wouldn't sit well.
They haven't even found a guy to replace CJ McCollum, let alone Damian Lillard. So, but it's also, like you just said, how it's taking Scoot Henderson some time. Look at Jonathan Kuminga. Like, he's in his 3rd year, and now he's showing, like, some real talent.
I wasn't worried about him either. I'm not gonna lie. I looked at him. I'm like, who's on your team, dude? Like, who are you practicing with every day? Like, they'll figure you out. Like, trust me.
Exactly.
Like, yeah. And if you don't get coached up quick enough, Draymond will assault you. So don't worry.
Exactly. So you better learn.
Precisely. It's like there's an actual danger here for you if you do not. Score update. Yep. 43-43.
Ooh.
Is tied.
Okay. Arizona, they better get their shit together.
They got hot.
By the way, I just want to say Clemson finished with a worse conference record than Pitt. Just want to say it.
And they got a 6.
Yeah. And NC State that won the damn tournament got an 11.
No, and then I just welcome to the selection committee in the year of our Lord 2024. They don't know what they're doing. All right, I'm looking at my list since we're on basketball.
Yep.
And I had there were a couple like NBA related things on that list I sent you. So the first one I'll bring up is our homie Domantas Sabonis. Holy frick. Can you look up is there a long list of MVP odds for the NBA? Like that has more than just like 5 options?
Yeah.
Because I want to see how much they're disrespecting this man as well.
Let's see. I want to see if we got NBA. What do they have it under? NBA Futures?
Probably.
Sometimes Bovada is weird because they'll have the odds right before the games and then just take away all the betting stuff as the games are on.
Okay. Yeah. I know what you're saying.
And I'm like, I just want to know what your odds were.
For real. Well, all right. So, geez, what a step. Okay, so I have Sabonis's stats up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this year he's averaging 5.5 minutes per game more than his career. He's shooting 5% better overall from the entire field, 60%. He's shooting 7% better from 3. 7.
Damn.
7, like that is such a jump. And then you go to rebounds, he has 3.5 more per game than he does for his career average. 4 assists more than his career average. Up on blocks, up on steals, down on fouls. Great. All that's positive. And he's averaging 20 points a game this year, which is 4 up from his career average. And I know that'll be like slightly watered from his days in Indiana, but rough. That's just such an insane jump across the board. And then they have fantasy men's basketball. His position rank is 2, which means the only one ahead of him is Jokic.
Yeah.
And it's like, obviously at that point you're good. Like Jokic is going to be the favorite at center for MVP. I think Shea actually finally just passed him on some odds as the favorite.
Yeah.
I think I saw that the other day. But all this dude is doing is getting better, and he's 27 years old. He's not even old yet.
I know. He's literally just entering his prime. Just now entering his prime, which is insane.
On a team that has the pieces around him that, at this point, are clearly not going anywhere. Like, there was the rumor for, like, that one season that maybe they'll move on from De'Aaron Fox.
Right.
But instead they said, no, let's go ahead and trade for Sabonis with Halliburton. And that trade is actually one of the most even trades that's happened in my lifetime, which is so cool to see.
Yeah. The only other trade I can think of that worked out so well for both teams is the Trae Young for Luka Doncic switch.
Yeah. And even that one, as more time goes on, we see that one is definitely leaning towards Dallas, I think.
True.
Because all Luka does is just get better. And then Trae, it's like the Hawks can't. The Hawks aren't helping him.
The funny thing about the Hawks is, like, they somehow were competent enough to build a team with no superstar to get a number 1 seed at one point. With Horford, Millsap, Korver, Jeff Teague. All those guys got a number 1 seed. But you can't put guys around Trae Young? Like, it's insanity.
Well, you look at their drafts, too. It's like all they do is miss.
Oh, yeah.
They were like Kevin Huerter.
DeAndre Hunter.
Cam Reddish. I'm like, I know they played it. Like, it's the counterintuitive because they played at the bigger schools. So you're like, oh, yeah, logic. It was just not. They just missed bad. And then, like, they haven't had a legit big.
Right.
Since probably Horford's prime, whenever the hell that was. And, like, they don't know what they're doing down there. But then you see them, like, the other NBA thing I had was the Celtics blowing leads. They don't lose a lot of games. We know that. The Celtics, like, they're gonna take the 1 seed.
Oh yeah.
And even looking at, like, their past whatever games, there's like 3 losses sprinkled in, but all of them were blown leads of double digits. And you're like, I had to bring it up because it's like, that is something when playoffs come around, you cannot have that kind of thing occur. And in the playoffs, you're going to be playing better competition. We know that. So what is happening in those games specifically? Is there like a trend that we can see? Because I need to look up exactly which games it was, watch them, like, the highlights back to back to back, and see if there's just, like, something I can see. But it just intrigues me that a team as good as Boston is and as deep as they are could even come, like, it was like a 24-point lead against the Hawks.
Yeah.
And they blew it in like a quarter plus 3 minutes, and you're like, Jesus.
The most recent one against the Hawks, I don't think happens if Derek White was playing. If Derek White was playing,
yeah, I'll agree with
those guys that are just like, all right, guys, cut the bullshit. Like, and that's part of what I think happens is, like, they're so far in the lead that I honestly feel as though Tatum, Brown, and those guys are just like, like,
yeah, and that's the kind of shit that irks me too, though. It's like,
oh yeah,
you would never see that back, like, with these great teams of the past ever.
Exactly.
Like, imagine the Spurs doing that in like 2007. Imagine.
Oh yeah.
Like you couldn't fathom Timmy and Ginobili being like, we're good. That would
Kobe
never
would
happen.
have them cut your ass.
Kobe would pull a samurai sword out from nowhere. You'd never see it, and he would chase you around the court. Like that's just not even like an option to quit on the game until the clock is literally zeros. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense. I don't know. Leads that big, it's just like, what the hell? And then for the Sixers, I believe I saw some lovely pictures of Embiid at the facility today.
Yes, you did. He participated in a light practice today, and he's traveling with the team. He will be with the team when they play Cleveland, and the hope is that he comes back within the next week or two.
Hell yes.
And they have 9 games remaining. So
we need it so bad.
And as of today, before the NBA games kicked off tonight, I think there's only 2 tonight anyway. But the Sixers,
the TNT games probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think since Sweet 16 was tonight, they especially didn't schedule any other games.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
But there's a big slate tomorrow night. But anyway, the Sixers are now in the 8th seed. They're a half game back of the Heat and 1.5 back of the Pacers for the 6th seed. So they could potentially avoid the play-in altogether.
Yeah.
Obviously, the biggest thing there is Embiid. If Embiid's back and they're still within a game or two of the Pacers, that is very obtainable to actually skip the play-in altogether. And to be honest, if they do, they would be facing, it would set them up for a matchup with the Cavs in the first round.
Okay.
Which happens to be one of the teams that for some reason the Sixers are good against even without Embiid.
I think with Embiid, we're such a matchup nightmare for them because Mobley, I love Mobley a lot, but he is just still small.
Right.
Like he uses his body exceptionally well, but
and Jared Allen is just a little too skinny.
Yeah. And then at that point, like lineup wise, it would just. I'm not scared of the play-in as long as Embiid has a few games under his belt, so he's not like he's shaking the rust off. Because then it's like, okay, I think we can get through whoever's there. But I think anybody would rather just avoid that immediately. Like,
for sure.
Or if you're gonna be in it, be the 7 so you can play the 10, win it, and you're like, we're good.
Yeah. Well, so
because then,
the 7 plays the 8.
Oh, that's right, and the 9 plays the 10.
Right, and then the winner of 7-8 is the 7 seed, and then the loser of 7-8 plays the winner of 9-10, and then the winner of that becomes the 8 seed.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, let's get the 7 so you could potentially just be like 1 and done.
Right.
Like
Agreed.
1 and relax. Like, yeah.
Agreed. And I would rather play the Bucks than the Celtics in the first round.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. I want a scenario where the Celtics run into the Heat again. If the Heat can find a way to get in without us getting in. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, if we can both make it, I want the Celtics to get eliminated by Jimmy Butler.
There is a world where that... I mean, as of right... if the playoffs started today and the play-in started today, the Sixers would play the Heat for the 7-8 play-in. So say the Sixers win that, they play the Bucks, then the Heat beats 9 and 10, which is fucking Chicago versus Atlanta.
Yeah.
Miami beats whoever that is. They play Boston first round.
Yeah, I want that.
That would be amazing.
I want that so bad. I want to watch Jimmy go absolutely nuclear against them again. Make me so fucking happy.
Oh, that would be the best.
Oh, I finally got in a draft, by the way.
Oh, there you go.
I've taken Bryce Harper, Jordan Alvarez, Gunnar Henderson, and George Kirby so far.
Okay, there you go.
It's not a bad start.
I don't even remember who my first pick was. I think I was near the end of the first round.
I was too.
Oh, my first pick was Tatis.
Oh, good pick. I took Harper first because I named myself Bryce Harper's Brodies, so I was like, I need to just do it.
Makes sense.
And they had it projected at like 13. I'm like, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
And if I don't do it now, someone's going to take him and be like,
I went Tatis and Aaron Judge for my first and second round.
So you're trying to win the home run category every week.
Pretty much.
Jesus. That's me too. Bryce and Jordan Alvarez. I mean.
Oh yeah, there you go.
They hit bombs. So
the thing was, my first like 3 or 4 picks were like all outfielders. I was like, shit, I need another position.
Well, I took Gunnar Henderson because he's third base and shortstop. I was like, nice. We can fit him in on some days when guys are not playing.
I forget who my third round was, but after those two, I was like, I'm gonna need someone that can play any other position right now.
Precisely. What else? All right, let's do. Is this where we want to jump to the NFL stuff?
Yeah, sure. Let's jump in. We're obviously jumping into the kickoffs first.
Yeah.
Because
so I have the full change written down. I typed it up. I'll read it exactly as they explained it. So the NFL kickoff change, it will look more like the XFL, which I think is a great idea because they showed the percentages of actual kickoffs that occurred, or just like the amount of kickoff returns allowed per game. In the NFL was usually less than 1, where the guy actually decided to run the ball instead of just accepting a touchback or the ball went out of the end zone entirely. In the XFL, it was 5.6 was the average number of kickoffs returns per game, which is
interesting.
Excellent. So the change is 10 players on the kickoff team will line up at the receiving team's 40-yard line. At least 9 members of the return team will line up in a setup zone between the 35 and 30-yard lines. Up to 2 returners can line up in a landing zone between the goal line and the 20. And the guy will be kicking from like the 35,
like his own
and
35.
And it's more like a punt, if I recall, because if they still did kickoffs, it's still going to just sail out of the end zone anyway.
Right.
So it's either going to be like a punt and they're doing it closer so it actually reaches, or they're going to do a kickoff style still and it will be further back. Yeah, let's see if the graphic shows it. That's the one thing I was like unsure on reading this.
Yeah. So this is from the NFL's website itself.
Yep.
They have this little video. It's really just nice little.
Okay, so they're kicking from the 35.
Yep.
Still, which I feel like is, but I guess it's like, don't kick as hard. I don't know. That's the part that confuses me a little, because it's like if the guy still bombs the ball, it's just still gonna go out of play.
Right.
So that's why I'm like, how are?
So it was just saying if it lands.
Oh, here we go. Bounces from the landings. Oh yeah, go back to that and pause that. That's the biggest thing I've seen.
Here we go. Any kick that bounces from the landing zone into the end zone must be returned or downed by the receiving team for a touchback and possession at its 20-yard line.
Okay, so it's not the 25 either. Good.
Nope, not the 25. So I also thought this part was interesting right before it. Any kick that hits in the landing zone must be returned.
But see, this is what I mean. Like, if the guy's kicking from the 35, he can clear that, like, easily. So that's why in my head I'm like, is there a thing in this video that says the style of kick that is now being used? Or are they going to tell kickers to not, like, nuclear, like, assault the fucking ball?
Yeah.
Because
let's see. What is this part? If a kick fails to reach the 20-yard line, the receiving... Oh!
They're definitely punting this then. They're 100% punting this then. There's no way you're not reaching the 40.
I was going to say, the only time I've never seen it reach the 20 is if they kicked it out of bounds.
Yeah, and it happens like 1 out of every 300 kickoffs, but...
So
Like, what the...
my question here is, with this new rule, are onside kicks not allowed? I don't think I ever saw if that is different.
Let's see. Let's play this out and see if they mention it.
Yeah, true.
Because that could be in here, but I would imagine you still...
there. If the ball enters the end zone in the air, the receiving team can return it or down it and take possession at the 30.
Okay.
Wait, hold on.
Okay.
So if it bounces into the end zone from the landing zone to the end zone.
This is why... All right, so here's what I'm imagining. Here's what I'm imagining. It's old school kickoffs.
Right.
You have two guys back. Is how it's set up. So
right.
they're not gonna be in the end zone. They're gonna be in that landing zone. So if the ball's in the air, like, they actually have to run the damn thing down and catch it in the end zone and down it in the end zone. So that actually will take some effort. It's not free.
True.
So that's probably why it's being rewarded with the 30, because it's not like, oh, he just stood there and it was like free gift. Obviously, that's not how it's going to go. So I find that interesting, but I still want to know, like, I'm still picturing this in my head. There's, like, as not a dude kicking it off like we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
Let me actually look up a video of the XFL kickoffs in a second. I'm on the clock, so I want to pick real quick. But all right, here we go. So let me look up. Let's go on YouTube. I'm just going to look up XFL kickoff, and let's see.
So this part doesn't change. If the ball goes out of bounds, receiving team gets at the 40.
See, that's interesting. That's just interesting because I just watched the XFL kickoff. He kicked from the 30.
Oh, that is interesting.
And he did, and then in this they're doing the 35. So I think, like, their concept, like the idea they have is good, but if the yardage isn't the same, it's not going to look like it's working as well, I guess. But even watching that, the kicker did not try to kick it that hard.
Right.
So I think there is actually a case to be made where the kickers are they're going to try and get it. They're going to try and actually position it somewhere more specifically rather than just going up and bombing it. So that would make this work then.
Here we go. Onside kicks permitted are in the fourth quarter.
Okay.
No fair catch is allowed.
Good. Because it's not a fucking punt.
Exactly. Setup and landing zones do not change after penalties or a safety. Only the spot where the ball is kicked changes.
Okay.
So they could have to kick it either farther or closer. I see.
Yep.
And then is that it? Is there any more?
I think that's it. Okay.
So interesting. I still think, like, it's a little weird to me. Like you were saying with the XFL, they're not trying to boot it as hard as they can. So does that mean if they just boot it out of the end zone that they get it at the 30?
I think it would mean that, yeah.
So that's why they're not trying to boot it out of the end zone, because then the other team starts 10 yards farther?
Yeah.
Because then that would make sense.
Because there's incentive now to hitting it in this landing zone, in that if it hits the ground in the landing zone, it has to be returned.
Right.
So that if you're the kicking team, you're going to want to put it in that every single time because it forces the opposing team to do that. And you know what I mean? Like, if you have faith in your special teams to stop them at an advantageous yard line for you as the defending team, that's what you'd want.
Right.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, so reading this, because the ball's automatically downed if it clears the end zone, so it would be 30. It would be the 30-yard line,
okay,
and you obviously, as a kicking team, you would obviously never want that now, because that's even more yards than the last year with the 25. So we'll actually see strategy. There will actually be strategy in special teams. Yet again, kickoffs are not just a completely useless practice anymore. This is a very good change for football.
Yes, I like this a lot.
I think we'll see more injuries on special teams, unfortunately, because they're going to actually have to play on kickoffs, but that's...
However, I don't think it'll be as much as the old kickoffs because you don't have guys going full speed from their own 35.
It's just, I just mean in the sense that, like, the guys are starting close to each other, so they're going to be able to, like, grab and whatever each other really quick. So if a tackle goes, like, sideways, dude fall on people, just those kind of weird freak ones. True. You could see a couple more than last year, just in general. But obviously I don't want that. I would love everybody to stay healthy all year. But I think this is a great change. I think, and absolutely a great change. It'll require special teams coaches to actually be on their players. Yep. You will have to prioritize it as a team to make sure your personnel every kickoff are good enough to do the job. Like, and then there's just potential for bigger plays, which that should always be a thing. So, holy crap!
But yeah, no, I like that. Pick? In terms of helping change the actual kickoff procedures, like seeing kickoff returns and everything used to be like one of the most exciting things ever. Like watch it when the Ravens won the Super Bowl the last time, you had Jacoby Jones returning a kickoff for a touchdown, and that completely changed the whole face of the game.
Yep. So like massively.
Yeah. So those kind of things. I mean, and then you have a guy like Devin Hester who's making the Hall of Fame because he was returning kicks and punts at the rate that he did.
This is the perfect moment to transition into one of the signings that happened that I liked. Cordero Patterson, one of the other greatest return men of all time, goes to Pittsburgh. Thought that was a really just good... It's a really good pickup for Pittsburgh because they can slot him into a bunch of positions. He's basically that, like, jigsaw. Just he can play running back, he can play receiver.
So you have, like, if you want to do 3-back sets, you got Najee, Warren, and Patterson.
Yeah, and why not? Like,
right.
We need to see more creativity.
Right.
Especially out of a team like Pittsburgh.
Along with a possibly running quarterback if you're playing Justin Fields.
Well, even Russ, I know he's older now. He's still nimble. The guy has he's still good at it, which is like why he was always such a good threat in Seattle. Is you'd be like, oh, we got him. No, you didn't, and he ran for 15 yards, and you're like, well, shit. I just pulled up Spotrack's NFL transactions to see if any other ones kind of just like jumped. The biggest one, Jadeveon Clowney, has signed with the Carolina Panthers for 2 years.
He had a very nice season for the Ravens. That was because I wasn't expecting much either.
No.
And when he came in, like, as long as, the fans obviously will have to temper expectations because he's not the Jadeveon Clowney from South Carolina. So
I just noticed one, and I'm so happy.
Oh.
Quez Watkins is no longer on the Eagles.
Where's he going?
Pittsburgh.
Really?
Yeah. He's probably gonna be practice squatted immediately, but and the Steelers the Steelers they do, but not from him. They also signed Kyle Allen, the QB from he was the Bills backup most recently.
I haven't heard his name in a while.
Rodney McLeod re-signed, I guess, with Cleveland. Good for him. Glad he's still playing. The Eagles. This is the one that I saw, and I was like, huh? The Eagles signed Will Grier, QB from West Virginia from like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
He'll probably
didn't even know he was in the league still.
He will 100% be living on the practice squad. But I was like, but the biggest one since we were last on by 12,000 miles, L'Jarius Sneed being traded to the Tennessee Titans because Kansas City's cap, they didn't have enough, and this is what happens. You lose the best CB in football from last season statistically, and he goes and signs a 4-year, $76 million deal after being traded to the Titans.
If you think about it, if Sneed doesn't make that play on Zay Flowers, that changes the entire Super Bowl.
Yeah. But that's why it was like so clip. Once he made that play, it's like we already knew you had a really good year, right? And then here you are in the highest pressure situation of the season to this point.
Right.
And you still were the guy that jumped off the screen. Just jumped off. So, but like I look at him going to Tennessee and I'm like, I hope they have the right scheme where they're not wasting what he's good at, because then the contract will seem like it was too much, even if it's not the player's fault. Like, if he's good in press, you play press. If he's good in zone, you play zone. Like, you look at the players you have and make a scheme for them. Because they signed Chidobe Awuzie, so they have both their number ones now. Like, they got corners on both sides. Mm-hmm. And they already had the guy from Virginia Tech from like 3 drafts ago that's actually started developing and playing well.
Oh, yeah. I know who you're talking about. I can't think of his name.
Because he was like a first-round pick, and they took him knowing he was injured, but it was like he could be a number one. Right. And he so far has actually given them a lot in return for the risk of that. His name is... Let's see.
Yeah,
I'm looking.
Think of his name.
Yeah, I'm like... Caleb Farley. Caleb Farley. Yeah, he's a good player. They have Arden. Let's see. They have Sneed on one side, Eric Guerra at the other. And he's 23 years old. So it's like they have youth at this position and good veterans at this position now. So their defense is shaping slowly.
Right.
And they already did themselves the service of moving on from Byard last year. So they really are like clearly trying to get young, which
Amani Hooker racked up tackles last year.
Yep.
Roger McCreary was one of their better tacklers as well. I mean, they definitely have. They're definitely up there with some good. Don't they have what's his name? Murphy Bunting.
Yep. They may have moved on from him. Sean Murphy. I feel like I saw his name at some point. I want to make sure he's still a Titan. He is not. He is an Arizona Cardinal now.
Ah, never mind that.
You said his name, and I'm like, I think he went somewhere. And the reason it was hard to remember is because it's Arizona. And you were like, right. We got to see them start getting better before we remember that they're even like here.
By the way, score update, 5:42 left in the second half. Clemson is up 65-58.
Yes, sir. One other thing I brought up for NFL, just because we talked about salary cap last time, right?
Right. So
this is as up to date as it could possibly be as of today. New England is still number one. Mm-hmm. Or I think actually Washington was number one before, but they switched. It's New England, Washington, the Chargers are now 3. They were literally, remember we talked last time, they were dead last.
Yep.
But they got rid of so many big contracts, and they're going to have to fill those holes because it was their 1 and 2 receiver and their number 1 running back.
And Quentin Johnston has not looked good.
Yep. So it's like, but they're picking early in the draft. We pretty much know they're going to go receiver. You and I both, you had them trading up to make sure they got the guy they wanted. I had them sitting and getting a different guy. But that's where we think they're going to go because at QB we know they're set. So, and then I think even second and third round they may actually want to invest in a running back if the right guy's there.
Running back. I mean, if they
offensive line.
Powers.
Yeah. I mean, but that's if they could trade back up into the first and acquire and get him, because he's going top 15.
Oh, yeah.
I think is the default. But the Eagles are 4th.
Oh.
After all the offseason, we just had all the signings, all the moves. We have $32 million in cap space open still. This dude is a magician, I swear to God. And then Arizona and then Kansas City. And the reason Kansas City is still 6th is because they couldn't use that money to keep Sneed, because it would have literally they'd be at 0 again.
Right.
And you can't go into a season without space because you know you're going to make trades or the draft is coming, so that those contracts get added into this. The Raiders are at 7th. They're probably very happy with that because that gives them a lot of flexibility. Tennessee is 8th even after signing Sneed.
Okay.
Then it's Cincinnati, and then Chicago at 10. Let me look here.
Who's Tennessee's highest paid player outside of Sneed now? Because Derrick Henry's not there. Oh, Calvin Ridley. I forgot. They paid him a shit ton of money.
Yeah, I wonder.
Because Tannehill, is his contract up?
Gotta be. If it's not, I'll be really surprised. Let me see. Let us look, because I think Spotrac probably has shit for this too. Okay, their highest is Jeffrey Simmons. Their very young, exceptional defensive tackle.
Oh, they got
second,
Pollard too.
Second is Ridley. Third is Harold Landry. Good edge rusher. Then it's Sneed. Then it's Lloyd Cushenberry. their center, and he's a stud. So that's perfectly fine. Then it's Chidobe Awuzie. So there's a theme here, though. These are all 3 of the top 6 are guys they signed this year.
Yeah, that's
just this year. So you're going, all right. And then Pollard's 9th. So yeah, they have money,
right?
Because they're not paying a quarterback yet. But that's where it's going to get interesting. Because even like Treylon Burks' rookie contract puts him in like the top 12. So like when and if they have a quarterback that becomes good enough to be paid, that's where we'll see this shift. Because
true,
they're not doing that yet. Obviously they will. They're paying a lot more money to the skill positions in DeAndre Hopkins and all those guys. So
we also don't know if Levis is what the hell he's going to look like.
No idea.
Malik Willis is obviously not even on the radar to start right now. So no idea what they're going to do, really.
This is, so I go to the Eagles one just for shits because it's right there. The magic of guaranteed money and why it helps you maintain salary cap.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Hurts' contract was $255 million. 180 of that is guaranteed.
Dang.
So his cap hit is like a joke because of that. But then let's use that exact thought process and look at Dallas. Dak Prescott's is $160 million for what's remaining because that was an extension.
Yeah.
So because it's an extension, it doesn't. This is why Howie's better because he understands the shit that we don't. Like his affects the team so much more, and it's like mind blowing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because to look at the full list, right, of where teams are at, Dallas is 26th, and they just moved on from Gallup and Pollard and Zeke a couple 2 seasons ago. So you're like, where? This is what I mean. It's like, where's the money? Where is it? You should have more.
They also didn't re-sign one of their big offensive linemen too.
Yeah, he left. So it's like, where's the money? Like, what? How do you not have it? Like, it should be there for you.
Their free agency is a joke.
Yeah. But here's what's crazy, and it's like you think about it this way. It's like, who is failing to win games in the playoffs? Okay. There's a couple exceptions down here. Like, obviously, the Niners being 25th, we know why they are 25th.
Right.
We know why. They have a team that they've built that they're really happy with right now. And that's, got it. But you see Miami down here. They're paying a ton of dudes. They just last year, it was like, let's bring in just all this firepower, whatever. So we'll get to see that team kind of do it again this year.
Right.
But they only have $4.5 million. Seattle is 28th.
Which is
like, what?
Who are you paying?
What do you mean? I don't. Atlanta is 29th. Tampa is 30th. The Jets are 31, obviously with Rodgers, some receivers, whatever, defensive. But it's like these are all teams that, like, credit to the Bucks. They look like they're gonna stick around. They're not shit because Baker played really well. Awesome. Like, so that them being down here, I'm like, okay, you found your guy in Baker. You paid him, so that's a little bit of this.
And they re-signed Mike Evans.
Yeah, and that needed to happen because that's a guy. That's one of those dudes. You're like, he should never ever play on a different team for as long as he's in the NFL. Never play on a different team. Spotrac has a page for cap hit, not just the actual thing.
I got you.
What? Hold up. Stop it right now.
Who was 32nd in terms of salary cap?
Cleveland.
Oh, yep, makes sense.
Nick Chubb, Myles Garrett. Like, we talked about it. Their defense is so loaded. It's like, okay, I can kind of understand you're paying some dudes that. And Deshaun Watson's bum ass.
Exactly.
It's all Deshaun's fault. Let's just be honest. It's all Deshaun Watson's fault. Their cap his cap hit is $64 million. Holy fuck, bro.
Yeah, they were insane.
What do you mean?
That contract.
What do you mean? Even, like, let me go to, like, 2026. Bro, like, in 2026, Jalen Hurts' cap hit is still half that. Half. What the fuck? I mean, this next year, looking at this next year is going to be a very big year for the Eagles to, like, win right now. Because Hurts' contract does kind of ramp in terms of cap hit, but how he does every single year is go, all right, what can we switch to a bonus or whatever, and cap becomes available again.
Right.
Which is just hilarious. But yeah, so Cleveland being down there is because of Deshaun Watson, and I mean, that kind of sucks for them. Let me go to the Chargers, actually. This is a curious one, because they obviously, as we established, released a bunch of dudes.
2026 for the Ravens is going to be rough.
Is that when Lamar's amps?
Lamar's cap hit in 2026 is $74 million. And then
What the fuck?
Matabuki's $30 million. Roquan's $27.5 million.
Holy, they're going to get, but take peace of mind in this, that's going to get restructured year to year, and it won't ever be that bad. But still, even hearing that, it's like I looked at Hurts's all the way up to 2027, and it's never more than 40.
Yeah.
And you're like, how? What has he done?
And like Marlon Humphrey's 22 and Marcus Williams is $20 million in that year too.
Marlon Humphreys will get restructured too, because I think he's a guy who's going to be a Raven for forever.
Yeah, he should be at least.
I like him a lot.
And by the way, 2026 and 2027, that's not even talking about Kyle Hamilton's second contract.
Yeah, which we know is going to be, that's going to be a thick ass boy, is what that's going to be. So, all right, let's do NFL power rankings. I have two different ones pulled up because I wanted to compare.
Yep.
One of these I actually really agree with, and one of them I don't. So ESPN's and NFL's both have the Chiefs at number one.
Makes sense. We
can't deny that. They've won 2 Super Bowls straight. There's no reason to think that, you know what I mean, nothing's happened. Like, Sneed's going to hurt, but they're just so...
really good, I mean...
Yeah, and they re-signed their defensive coordinator. Steve Spagnuolo's a genius. So it's like, someone will slot in and play well enough.
Right.
I would assume. That's fine. So here's the one I don't agree with. It has the Niners at 2, because they're basically just copy-pasting what last season was. And I don't love that.
Yeah.
Because here's NFL's, right? So I love the first sentence of the Niners thing. It says the front 7 was put through the blender early in free agency. Agreed. So You're losing Eric Armstead, Javon Kinlaw, and Sebastian Joseph Day, and you're just getting Malik Collins and Jordan Elliott back. I'm sorry. No. And then you have Leonard Floyd and Yader Gross-Matos to replace Randy Gregory, Chase Young, and Cleveland Farrell. Cleveland Farrell's not like amazing, but as a rotation guy, he brought energy.
Right.
Every part of that is a downgrade. All of it. And then
But also, who was it? Greenlaw that messed up his Achilles?
Yeah. So it's like that too. Like the whole inside of your defense and the edges too are worse now.
Right.
But just by default, before you make a move, and then even if you get a rookie and he plays like well, it's a late first guy because you're picking 31st because you lost in the Super Bowl. So it's like you're not going to have the impact. The potential of the rookie you take is not as high as the earlier draft picks. So you're not going to expect immediate impact. Then it's just I don't see how they're still second. I don't. The other one at number 2, and this is the one I actually wholeheartedly agree with, and I think it's very, very logical. The Detroit Lions, because all they did was upgrade the best O-line in football. They somehow upgraded that.
True.
And Jared Goff, every year with them so far, has got better and better. And then all you've done around him is draft Jahmyr fucking Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Jameson Williams. Like, you are just there building and building. And then defensively, you're hitting on every draft pick. Like, it's just... So, for them, I'm looking at them like you have a really solid ride to winning that division again, especially now with Kirk Cousins out of Minnesota. Your biggest competition, unless they unless they draft the right rookie QB and he slots in perfectly, is obviously Green Bay, because Jordan Love, surprise, is not a bust. He's actually a very good QB, good instincts, and he's only going to get better.
Receivers looking good too.
Yeah, and all they're going to do is add to that too, because they're all on rookie deals. So like they have you know what I mean? They can make that continue working.
And they just drafted a tight end who wasn't that bad either.
Yeah. So but I'm looking at them like that early projections, right? You're going to go Detroit wins the division, followed by Green Bay, Minnesota, and then Chicago. Because Chicago, even if they get Caleb Williams, like there's so many more pieces to make that work. Exactly. They have the Niners at 3 on this one, which I think they should be like 5 or 6. Personally,
I think they should be top 5 for sure.
I think 5, because I just want to see what the new players they brought in do. Because obviously, if they look great right away again, it's like, okay, then yeah, they're fine. Right. So the Niners at 3 on this one. We go back to the NFL one. The Ravens are at number 3. Totally fine with that. Totally fine. Talent-wise, I mean, their defense is always pretty solid, and then obviously offensive, top 3 QB in the NFL. So
my only worry is the receiving core.
Yeah, but
it's usually the worry.
But we could see them address that within the next month, which at the draft,
very true,
which we very much hope for. We'll go to number 10 on the NFL one, then I'll go back to the other one. So we go Detroit at 4 on this one, which is still high. I'm glad they're up here. Mm-hmm. Buffalo at 5. We'll see, because a lot of dudes left and came in, so that one's going to
their defense.
Yeah, exactly. So that's going to be one. Let's see. Like, it's just a let's see.
Yeah.
Eagles at 6, which fine with that, because the Eagles are also a let's see. Like, you made a lot of moves, and some people left, some people are here now.
Coaches changed.
Exactly. It's a whole new system on both sides. Like that, they're one that it's going to be a let's see, which is how I'm going to go into it as a fan. Houston at 7, 100%. All they did in this offseason is get better.
Yeah.
They have young talent at positions that are the most important, and obviously CJ Stroud is that guy.
Oh, 100%.
Woo! And they bring in Joe Mixon to be his running back. Bruv.
instead of Singletary
brother.
and Damian Pierce.
Brother, I'm pumped for that. I'm pumped to watch Houston play. This one, I love that they're getting some respect. We'll see. Green Bay at 8.
Okay.
I don't hate it at all.
No, me neither.
At all. So
I'm a little surprised they wouldn't have the Bengals above Green Bay. I know
they're right behind them.
Okay, they're at 9.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's close enough that I'm like, fair enough, because the Bengals are going to need to like prove that they're still going to be able to like keep up with the big three of teams that have always just kind of been in the playoffs for the last like 4 years of Buffalo, KC, and Baltimore.
Right.
Like, because that's who it is every year. Like they have to show 100%. Like, let me see. So let me open up the Bengals real fast. It's like, all right, we got better on defense, clearly. Like, you bring in Sheldon Rankins for the middle. You bring in Von Bell. Great. And then you re-sign Trenton Irwin. You lose Joe Mixon. That's the part that's why it's going to be a like we need to see how this looks. And then
they still have to figure out what happens with T. Higgins too. So
yeah, like he's franchise tagged, so he will be here this year. It's not the like restricted franchise tag; it's the regular one, so he can't be like scalped. But yeah. So that one, like, you get Bengals at 9. They have Dallas at 10, which I can't really knock that because they always have a record good enough to finish in the top 10. But as far as a team that's going to go deep, I would have put Miami above them.
That's what I was going to say.
Are you ready for a surprise? And this is just all credit to the defense. Again, Cleveland at 12.
Yeah, because no one's taking that offense that high.
Oh my, holy shit. Okay, well, this one makes sense, but we'll get to it in a second. They have the Steelers at 13. They were 10-7 last year. That's fine. 3 games over 500, that's very respectable. No problems with that. Right. Number 14, the Atlanta Falcons.
That's bold.
You bring in Kirk Cousins for all the young talent that you have been. Clemson just won, by the way. It's over. Oh, shit. 77-72. Woo, boy, the tournament is started. Jacksonville at 15. And we'll stop there, because after that, it's literally just like...
It's a
It's teams that aren't going to even make the wild card. Obviously, that stops at 14, because there's the 2, and then, yeah. The other list had Miami at 6.
Damn.
So, like, NFL, whoever made that one is just completely disrespecting the shit out of them. Eagles at 7. Texans at 8. Cowboys at 9. Packers at 10. Bengals 11. So the Packers and Bengals seem to always be next to each other, regardless. Cleveland's still at 12, so that's the only... And Pittsburgh at 13, so there's 2 that match. And here's one that is just so incorrect that I have to point it out. The LA Rams at 14. No.
I mean, I kind of guess
It's because of Matt Stafford.
Well, Matt Stafford
and receivers
still there, right? Or did Kyron go somewhere else?
Let me investigate that one moment. Kyron, football running back. Yeah, he's still there.
Okay, so Kyron's still there. Cooper, Kupp, Puka Nacua. Like, the offense is at least still intact, which I get. But Aaron Donald retiring?
That's what I mean. I'm like, did we miss that, Sunshine? What?
That's a giant hole to replace.
Oh, huge. And then I brought up somebody on ESPN did a full 7-round NFL mock draft. And I opened it because I'm like, I respect your effort, because wow, the amount of time to actually think through each. But we'll just go over some. I like how this guy did this. I'm very intrigued. So, number 1, we already know. We're not even going to talk about it. Washington at number 2, not taking Drake May, but instead taking Jaden Daniels.
Okay.
And then number 3, Minnesota trading up with New England, as we assume they may do, for said quarterback. They trade up and take Drake May.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep. And then this is where this guy's having fun, but it's all stuff that is like a valid actual option. Mm-hmm. The 4th pick, Denver trades up with Arizona to draft J.J. McCarthy. So you get 4 quarterbacks ripped right off the board. And I can't even, like there's, in my head, I read this, and there was not a moment of me going, oh, you're dreaming. This could, there's 100% chance this could happen if the right people, the right deals are offered.
That's true.
100%, because, we already discussed this class is very good for quarterback.
Yeah.
And there's options. So it's like team fit, and then number 5, the Chargers get to just sit back and let Marvin Harrison Jr. fall right into their lap.
That's a dream scenario for Chargers fans.
Yeah. Giants take Malik Neighbors out of LSU. Tennessee always takes Joe Alt out of Notre Dame because they need a tackle so badly. It's unbelievable. Atlanta takes Dallas Turner, which I was like, I'm smiling because I did that on my mock draft. Chicago takes Rome Odunze to immediately boost Caleb Williams.
Yep.
With a good receiver. Jets take Brock Bowers, as I think both of us had on our mocks. The Patriots take Olamide Fashanu, tackle out of Penn State. Arizona, now further back, still gets a receiver in Brian Thomas Jr.
Okay.
And then at 13, the Raiders, because all the other quarterbacks are gone, minus Penix, who's, I don't know if he's on here, but we'll find out, draft Bo Nix.
Okay.
I would totally be down with that.
Yeah, not
by the way. Would love to see them get Bo Nix. I think that would be such... He's so pro-ready. He's played at 2 of the most spotlighted programs. He played at Auburn first, so you're in the SEC at, that's a mega school. And then you go to Oregon, which is one of the mega schools in the Pac-12.
And you get Devontae Adams.
Yes, sir. So let's see. After that, it's kind of let me see if there's any flashy ones that jump off the screen for me. Eagles, they have the Eagles taking Nate Wiggins, just like I said, the Clemson CB, because I was like, I just think the Clemson thing's going to happen. I don't know why, but we'll see. Down a little bit. Is there any... Oh, let's get to... Yeah, we'll do Baltimore, obviously. It has Baltimore taking Ladd McConkey, the wide receiver from Georgia.
I'd be fine with that.
And he is he's 6 feet tall.
Not a huge guy, but...
No, but see, that's why I think your thought process is going to end up being correct. I like that I was thinking maybe Xavier Worthy, because if they want just to kill teams with speed, it's fine if you want to try that. Just make sure you have the right guys. But the recipe, you explained so perfectly, that worked to win a Super Bowl was one burner and one dude who's just going to body the shit out of everybody and win contested catches. And
exactly.
There's a reason that teams try to build the Eagles duo.
Right.
AJ Brown and Devontae Smith is the perfect example in today's league. For that complex kind of meshing. Because you look at other teams, right? Let's just pick the top 4 duos. You obviously have the Eagles, the Dolphins, the Bengals, and Minnesota.
Yeah.
Those I think are the top 4. I don't really know who else could sneak in there.
Probably them. The only other duo I think could sneak in there is Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua.
But even them, it's neither one's a burner. They're both dudes who are just so meticulous in their route running and so reliable when the ball's in their area. That they're IQ receivers more than they have a physical trait that makes them a step ahead. And they have Matt Stafford, who literally just should absolutely be talked about as one of the greatest QBs of all time. Because you look at the amount of records for receivers, that he's been the QB. And you have to kind of think, like, got it. So I look at Miami, I'm like, you have all speed. And Jalen Waddle's not super small, but he's not big.
No.
And obviously Tyreek Hill, he just has a lower center of gravity, which is what makes him special. You can't really tackle him easily.
Yeah.
But he's also a ninja, so he's like, he runs Mach 5. Like, for the Bengals, Jamar Chase is the physical dude, because he actually is really strong.
Right.
And then T. Higgins he's going to blaze you. He had the catch over Jalen Ramsey in the Super Bowl, where he just burned him. And then, like, Minnesota, obviously, Jefferson shouldn't be able to do contested catches as well, but good Lord, does he.
The falling down one-handed catch between
his
arms.
He's so nuts.
Insane. And
But I like it.
Addison's just awesome.
Yeah, Addison's a man. We love Addison. But yeah, it's like, there's a lot to look forward to. The NFL draft will obviously drastically shift the power rankings depending on the trades made and QBs drafted by what teams. And that's just one of those. It's like, well, let's just wait and see, because it'll be fun.
Yep. That's about where we're at at least for the NFL part of this year, is the wait and see to the draft. Then things get a little more interesting. Then once the draft is done, then it's like, oh, now we got preseason, training camp, all that coming up.
Yeah.
So it's nice.
You know, the worst part too, though, is like, just staying on the power rankings topic, is when you get to the preseason, the only thing that really changes it then is injuries, which is a shame. And that's like, it's just a part of these kind of contact sports. But obviously, like, when the draft happens, we are definitely we'll probably have like 2 or 3 more episodes before the draft one. But when the draft happens, I wonder I need to make sure I'm off on the draft night 1, because isn't it usually a Thursday?
I feel like it's usually either a Thursday or a Friday.
I think it's a Thursday. Hold on. NFL draft.
Because it's 3 days, right?
Yep. Thursday, April 25th. We could literally do like a draft like watch along for the first few picks if you want.
True.
Like go live a little bit before the broadcast begins, and then like do like one last mock draft and then just roll with it for like a little bit if you want, because that would be really fun. But yeah, I think
as I'm around, I'm down.
Yeah, I'll try and see if I can be off that day, because I am so obsessed with the NFL draft.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think that's all we have for today.
Yeah. We had a good array of topics. I mean, there's a lot going on. This is the great time of sports where you have like literally every sport has something going on at this.
The convergence.
Exactly. So it's been great. But yeah, we'll probably be back again next week. I'm looking into setting up like the audio portion where you can get it on like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that kind of stuff. So should be able to get it out on there as well, and we can do it on our side of things instead of going through any other like network or anything like that. So those kind of things can be uploaded pretty quickly. But for those looking for episodes, we're on YouTube right now on the Fishy Business Media YouTube channel, and you can find our posts on theatlanticfiles.com. There's a little section for Sideline Specialists on there as well. So thank you everybody for watching. Please subscribe below, hit the bell for notifications. It lets you know when we go live, and we will catch everybody next week.
Peace.